What is going on? Welcome to the episode. Today we're going to be digging into motivation because, in my opinion, it is largely misunderstood, and because of that, folks often give away their power and therefore don't get the results that they're ultimately after because of its misapplication. The typical definition of motivation is the process that initiates, guides, and maintains goal-oriented behaviors. Now, I look at motivation quite a bit differently than that. To me, motivation is like the weather. It comes and it goes, and it may lend itself to the behavior or action that you'd like to carry out, or it may not. But ultimately, you still need to go about your day and get shit done. Otherwise, your entire life is subject to something that you have absolutely zero say in or control over. Meaning, if you're reliant on motivation to continue to do something, you're not going to be doing that thing for very long because no one is motivated every day. The truth is that doing things even when we're not motivated to do them is just a part of being an adult. For example, there is no way in hell that you're motivated to go to work every day. I absolutely love my career. It's my passion. I wouldn't want to do anything else in the world. And I still have days when I'm not quote unquote motivated to do everything that I've committed to work-wise. But it ultimately comes down to a simple and straightforward question. What do I want most? So let's build off of our work example. Let's say you wake up tomorrow morning and don't feel all that motivated to go to work. You really quickly run through all of the potential consequences that you may face if you decide not to show up, and then you decide whether skipping out on work is worth those consequences or not. So they could be getting behind on a project, missing an important meeting, or potentially even getting fired. If falling behind, missing a meeting, or getting fired don't matter to you, then you might choose to bow out of work. But if those things matter to you more than not showing up to work for a single day, then you choose to go. Basically, the point here is that motivation is a nice to have, not a must have. If you're training for a marathon and you prefer to run on a dry day versus a wet day, you might enjoy your dry day runs a little bit more, but that doesn't mean that you still don't run on a wet day because your underlying commitment is to the marathon. Now, if you choose to only be a fair weather runner, that's fine, but you're not all that committed on the marathon front because you're letting something that you have no control over dictate your ultimate action. So motivation tends to be a bit of a scapegoat because folks draw the I don't feel motivated card to justify reasons for why they're not doing something when it really just comes down to the fact that they didn't want to do that thing enough to begin with. This distinction is really powerful because it's empowering. It's ownership. Now, I will say that putting the onus on motivation and not yourself is extremely appealing because this way, eating healthier, moving lots, and prioritizing sleep isn't that you don't want to do it. It's just that you're not motivated, right? And therefore, it's not up to you. It's just because of this thing called motivation that you don't happen to possess at that point in time. Now, don't get me wrong. If the motivation wind is blowing at your back and you're feeling it, amazing. Use it to your advantage. However, it will fade, and therefore, if you want to continue to keep carrying out whatever action you want to keep carrying out, it's going to require sticking with it even when motivation is at its lowest. This is where commitment comes into the picture. Like I mentioned before, if something pops up that I don't feel all that motivated to do, I ask myself, what do I want most? Not what do I feel like most in this exact moment, but what do I want most for my life? Because there is an underlying commitment to draw upon. Now, obviously, every decision doesn't need to be made like this, right? If you're thinking about heading for coffee, you don't need to be like, well, what do I want most here? It's like, do you want coffee or not? But when it comes to the bigger things that actually move the needle in your life, this is where putting feelings of motivation or not to the side are the difference between a good life and a great life, or achieving success or not, no matter what that word means to you. So what do you ultimately want in terms of your health, your career, your relationships? When you take a step back and look at the big rocks like this, and then think that you're letting feelings of motivation or lack thereof drive the boat, man, that is disempowering. It's literally giving your power away by choice. When you have something really important to do, let's say it's a date for surgery, okay, and you've been waiting for this procedure for 6 months and you need someone to drive you to that appointment. Are you going to call on a flaky friend that shows up 50% of the time, or are you going to ask your most reliable friend? Obviously, you're going to contact your reliable friend. Well, motivation is your flaky friend. You really enjoy hanging out with this person and you guys have a blast together, but when it comes to something important, this just isn't the individual that you rely on. Now, it's important to mention that there are no shoulds or shouldn'ts here. Put judgment to the side and just establish what your priorities truly are. Eating healthfully, moving lots, prioritizing sleep. You don't have to do these things. It's your body and you get to choose what you invest in it or not. That is entirely your decision. If you're wondering where your priorities lie at the moment, fortunately, it is incredibly easy and straightforward to figure out. Look at your calendar and your bank statement. These two things will show you exactly what you're prioritizing. Now, if you like what you see, amazing, you're golden. On the other hand, if you don't like what you see, reprioritize. You can do it anytime, anywhere, and aim towards anything that you want. So use motivation to your advantage when it shows up. It's a great way to get started. But if you're relying on it like your flaky friend, you're giving up your power and shortchanging yourself when it comes to getting what you want. This is why so many folks have trouble staying consistent with their healthful habits. They believe that motivation is the reason why they can't just keep it together. And they're right, because they're relying way too heavily on something that's fleeting. Again, motivation is a nice to have, not a must have. And so you fall back on what your priorities are and what you're truly committed to. And a super simple way in the moment to provide clarity for yourself is via 2 questions. 1, what do I want most? Not in this exact moment, but for my life. And the second one is this decision getting me closer to my goal or what I want, or further away? I really like these 2 questions because they do an awesome job of putting things into perspective, because it's so easy to get caught up in the moment and start having these back and forth conversations with yourself in your head. And fortunately, these 2 questions ground you and make action steps moving forward incredibly clear. If you're interested in applying for one-on-one nutritional coaching and or workout design with me, you can click the link in the description below or head on over to n1fitness.com/coaching. Follow me up on Instagram at n1fitness and feel free to friend me on Facebook at Marcus Sadu. Leaving an iTunes review really helps the pod grow and reach more folks. So if you're willing to do that, I truly appreciate it. And if you've already left a review, thank you. And lastly, be sure to hit the subscribe button on whatever platform you're using. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you found this useful, and I will catch you on the next episode. See ya.